sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
This is Dan Jurgen.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright. And you're listening to The Krypton Report.
The Krypton Report podcast is dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl, and the planet Krypton. We discuss movies, TV, game, comics, and all things DC. So join me, Tyler, with my co-host James and Jania. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Have you ever just heard two best friends get back together after a long time and chat about life, podcasting, and everything else? Well, you're about to. As I welcome my friend Chase Smith, college roommate, good friend, and him and I take a trip down memory lane, talk about comics, podcasting, what we love, and leave a whole lot more open for discussion for another time. So, enjoy this episode of me just chatting about podcasting, comics, the Batman period, with my good friend Chase Smith.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Do you like movies? Of course you do. Do you like comic book movies? Of course you do. Well, our Patreon is launched now. It's $1 a month. That's all we ask. $1 a month to hear great content. And right now, one of the biggest things we're doing on our Patreon is movie commentaries. I am a movie person, and I love to talk about movies. So what we're doing is at least 2 movie commentaries a month. You'll hear the wonderful voice of my wife, Jania, more often, and other special shows. Check out our Patreon at KryptonReport.com/Patreon. And all we ask is, hey, $1, it helps us keep the show on. We're not looking to get rich. We just help with the cost of doing this, and it helps a friend out. You loan a friend $1, you probably have $1 lying around the house and change. So check out patreon.com/KryptonReport. Sign up for the $1 a month and send us a message. You can be on the podcast. We can talk about something, anything you want to talk about. You can join us for a movie commentary if you want. So check it out. All right. Welcome to the Krypton Report. It's your host, Tyler. And this week, I'm continuing my Meet the series with a good friend of mine, a fellow podcaster, Mr. Chase Smith. Welcome, Chase.
JTP, what's up, my man?
Oh, just chilling in the new room here and recording some podcasting. Now, Chase and I...
Yeah.
We go back. We went to college together. Used to play some music together. Chase, this man right here, was the one who gave me Let Me Borrow, and I read The Long Halloween for the first time.
Yeah. And
Dark Victory.
Yeah.
I think you let our friend Devin borrow it, and then he gave it to me, and then you gave me like both books, and I plowed through those books.
Dude,
but
it made its rounds among the guys' dorms.
It did, and what's fun is Chase. We'll get into everything, but it's crazy. We were actually one of the people that went running into Walmart the day the Dark Knight toys were released to see if we could find the Joker figure.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be so hot, and nothing like 4 grown adults running through a Walmart in rural Ohio.
Dude, you gotta love it, man. Yeah, those were good times. What's crazy now though is they're making like adult cartoons of all these graphic novels. And so yes. I was flying back from Phoenix a couple weeks ago. And I was like, oh great. I'm going to watch Hush, which I love that graphic novel Hush. I think it's great. And did they change a little bit of what Hush,
yes.
I was going to say, I do not remember Hush being like that. So that was a surprise, but I haven't watched The Long Halloween yet.
The thing about Hush that got me was, so Hush, they kind of molded the story a little bit to be in the animation continuity. So a couple of characters were kind of tweaked around. Like,
okay, so the other graphic novel animations, it's all like canon together.
So the Hush one was, because there's like a whole canon of animated films, and they put Hush in there. Like in the film, there's Bane in place of Killer Croc.
Yeah.
And there's a couple other things that were a little different. So
Thomas Elliott is a fantastic character. Like I love what they did with him. I love what he brings to the Batman universe, and I just think there's so much you can do with that. And actually, Tyler, we have a in development screenplay that we've had for like 10 years that focuses around Thomas Elliot a little bit, kind of like a story called Batman Legacy, which is a lot of fun. But
we'll do a whole podcast where we'll just pitch our script because we actually had a really great idea.
It was great. It was with him and Hugo Strange, and it was all this awesome stuff. Anyway, but then in the cartoon, not to spoil anything, but it's just like Thomas Elliot was just like a blip, and then he was done, and I was like, well, he's coming back, and he never did. I was like, I know. What the heck?
My problem with Hush was like you said, Thomas Elliot added some layers to Bruce's past.
Yeah.
And about, just growing up and Bruce actually being bullied as a child. And then you have this whole storyline that cuts that out. And I mean, I know Hush's ending is very interesting, and Jeff Loeb does that in his writing where I feel like the endings become a little bit more not vague, but like you got to piece it together a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that like in Hush because it's like the Riddler was like the overarching person. Like the Riddler helped manipulate Thomas Elliot and push him into being the man Hush and the bandages and everything.
Which what a cool visual, like for a villain. I mean, especially in comic, it was so cool.
And then in the movie, like they just make it straight the Riddler.
But not only the Riddler, it's like the super jacked Lazarus Pit Riddler.
Yeah, and there's nothing with Two-Face because that was one of the misdirects.
Yep.
And so was kind of the Jason Todd, but.
Yeah, Riddler's cane also went through the Lazarus Pit, and it's like the super like powerful. It was just like I didn't enjoy that what they did because Hush is so great, and
I mean I like the part. I mean I always like the part at the end where Batman they find out like Batman has the implant, and he has to have Superman use his heat vision to burn it out of him.
Mm-hmm.
You have that great visual of Batman's hand kind of shaking.
Yeah.
While Superman's, laser focused in.
Hey, I know this is DC stuff. I just watched Eternals the other night, and they mentioned Batman and Superman in an MCU movie.
I saw the clip. Like I saw the clip, and what's funny is, so Solomon and I are going to see Eternals tomorrow.
Okay.
We were supposed to go Sunday, but it was Jania's like only day off, and she just wanted to chill at home. So, But I saw the clip where they mentioned Superman, and what's funny is if you watch, it might be in both versions of Justice League, but when the Flash is fighting Superman and he goes against the memorial for Metropolis, his head goes back, and the name behind his head is Ben Parker.
Oh wow! So they're always shouting each other out. Hey, also there's like a sex scene. Like in the movie, so I don't know.
Yeah, I heard that, and my friend's supposed to like
get some popcorn, use the bathroom right when.
Hey, Solomon, what's that over there? Whoa, what?
It lingers like I don't know if they've ever done that. I don't know. It was weird.
It was one of those
when they
things
start
I read where it's like
declaring their love for each other, and they're like, oh, they're going to like love each other. Well, they like literally love each other, like they make love to each other, and
this is the edgy MCU.
I guess, man.
They're trying to be hardcore now. No longer the empire they built on being a comic book family brand.
Yeah.
They're like, well, now we're edgy. It's just funny.
But yeah,
also,
man.
do you remember Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire? Aunt May's like, you do too much, Peter. You're not Superman,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good stuff.
And the other thing I was going to tell you is
Batman and comics with you, Ty, man. It's been too long.
It has been. I think the last time we chatted a little bit about comics was on your podcast. We talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
We did. You were with Damon. That was so yeah, I do have a podcast. I also have a podcast network, which maybe we can talk about later. But yeah, you've been on it a couple times, I think, because we talk Star Wars.
Yep.
I know I had the creator of Batman on Film, which is a pretty prominent or was a prominent Batman rumor news website, like during the Nolan.
Bill?
Yeah,
Bill Jerry,
yeah, man. Had him on once or twice. I don't remember.
I've talked to him before, like emails and online and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that like recently during the whole after BVS, he kind of like took a very back seat in the podcast and everything. And it's kind of, you're starting to hear him contribute again more as he builds up towards the Batman. And Chase and I were always big, Dark Knight Nolan film buddies. When I came down to visit him in North Carolina, when I moved down there later, we watched The Dark Knight, of course.
Of course.
When we roommated together, I was working at Blockbuster. Now, for those who don't know, Blockbuster was a video store. You could rent movies back in the day. And we got like The Dark Knight like a month early. So from like, I think late October to like its release. And then like, I feel like from October to like the end of December, that movie was constantly on in the house between the 4 roommates and the people that visited.
5.
Like it was always playing some. Yeah.
I don't know if we count the Basement Dweller. So that's a memory. And then we also, I don't know if it was you or one of our other friends from college who worked at Blockbuster, but we got the bootlegged Origins X-Men movie unfinished. And I just remember,
it was me.
That was you. We all watched that. I mean,
because we were like, should we go see this? Nah.
No, and it didn't help an already movie that needed a lot of help. And it kind of was like, eesh.
Oh, good times. But what's funny is, so we met after Batman Begins, and then by the time The Dark Knight Rises, I think you had moved to North Carolina.
Yeah, started
about to.
Yeah, so I'm in full-time ministry, and after college, I was at a church in North Carolina. I was still a student pastor and worship leader. But yeah, I know my wife and I, because Rises came out
12,
and that's when like that shooting happened. And so we were in Charlotte at an IMAX theater, and I got an alert on my phone. I remember exactly where we were. That was awful. Kind of put a damper on the night, but
what was crazy was Janine and I saw it at a midnight showing, and I didn't know anything about that shooting until the next day.
Yeah.
So like it was all like, we actually had our moment of celebration towards it. But yeah, we all that to say, we never got to experience one of the movies together.
Right.
And that's a shame, people.
Did you like Rises?
When I first saw it, I did. I watched it about a year ago, and we're going to watch it for the podcast in January and do a commentary on it. There are things I like about it.
It gets a really bad rap.
Well, I mean, okay, here's a question then. Is there any trilogy that the third film is good or great?
Indiana Jones.
Well, right now Indiana Jones is a quadrilogy because there's 4 of them. There's about to be 5.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And Star Wars is weird because it's 3 separate trilogies and spinoffs. But like, if you look at, I mean, it kind of depends on how you define the film, But if you were looking at Indiana Jones, the 3rd one is the best, but the 4th one,
I don't know if it's the best. I think it's really good.
I think the 3rd one's the best.
I'm a sucker for Raiders. But okay, yeah. So Rises, man. I think it gets a really bad rap. I think I think one of the bigger scale movies like that Nolan does in the Batman. I mean, it's bigger scale than Begins, bigger scale than Dark Knight. And I think it encompasses like the longest amount of time. I mean, Begins, Origins notwithstanding, like Begins is almost 2 separate movies. You have him as a kid going to be Batman, then you have his like, oh, he's Batman now. And so I think like what it's trying to do, I don't know how he could have done it any better for the story he wanted to tell. Like he knew out of the gate that I want to tell this story and this is how I'm going to do it. And I would be interested to know if he had planned on having Joker anywhere in the 3rd one. And so I don't remember. I may have known that.
There was talk about it, but it was never like.
Yeah, it's better than people want to give it credit for. Like Rises, Bale delivers. Hathaway's fantastic.
Hardy's fantastic.
Yeah, Bane. The set pieces in that is just remarkable. Like the opening, the prologue is The airplane. That is a freaking awesome scene, dude.
Yes, it is.
It is just incredibly well done. I mean, James, Commissioner Gordon delivers, obviously. Joseph, like, everyone is just on point. And yeah, it's underrated now at this point because it's so like, oh, that one sucks. It's underrated at this point. So if you haven't watched it, check it out.
My thing with Rise is you got to go into it. And I almost wish the name was not like, I wish it wasn't The Dark Knight Rises.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wish it was called Legend of the Dark Knight because at the start of the movie, he's kind of this legend, this old hero that people, he's been gone for a while and then he disappears and he becomes, a legend, a folktale.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Nolan's idea of doing like his last Batman. Like the idea of I want to make my trilogy. I don't want anyone to be able to do another one. Like this is it. It's closed off.
Gary Oldman. Sorry, I forgot. Commissioner Gordon. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. And so, I mean, he succeeded, in that. And when you look at it, like this isn't the ongoing adventures of Batman. This Batman has his beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises is a nice blend of No Man's Land, Nightfall, storylines, and a little bit of The Dark Knight Returns.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just when I watched it last time, I was like, you know what? There's stuff I like in this. I felt like it was a little long. Certain things were a little drawn out.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit more of suspension of disbelief. One, the whole back issue, because I've had enough back pains, enough back issues, and had to have go to the doctors and have things taken care of to know that his pop the back is not a cure-all. Two, the nitpicking that cracks me up is that people's like, how do they have cable in that prison? But my biggest thing is like the back, and then like the fact that like they're like, oh, we can prove fraud on the fingerprints. I would hope so, considering his home was burglarized and the stock exchange happened and then this transaction happened.
Yeah. So
what I'm saying?
Hearing is you wish it was like 50 minutes longer so you could really get into some of the stuff. That's what you're really saying.
Right. Where was the court case?
On the cutting floor.
Where was the court case that showed that he was innocent? That he got his money back. Oh, but no, like it's good. It works. The whole police, being underground for months at a time it's an interesting idea of like, how did they, they had to sneak food down to them or, to keep them warm, to keep them. But
I don't think you're supposed to ask a lot of questions when you're watching superhero movies.
But it's a Nolan film that's supposed to be so grounded in reality. It's like this is how it is.
Yeah.
But
speaking of grounded in reality,
Chase watched the first trailer, but he's about to watch live right now the Batman trailer, and then we're gonna get some feedback from Chase and see what his thoughts are. Before you do, what was your thoughts on Affleck Batman, real quick?
Okay.
Just in general. This is a safe place, Chase. You can speak your truth.
I felt like we watched the Snyder Cut. That was the last time I've seen. I felt like I was watching a Batman who didn't want to be Batman anymore, but who had to because of some code or past failure. And I felt like I was watching someone who hated their job. That's what I felt like I was watching. It was an interesting take. I'd never seen like a kind of older, why do I have to do this Batman? And I think that was a choice Affleck made. Obviously they were really big on like, oh, well, he's going through a lot of loss and, this is a weathered Batman. Mm-hmm. And I didn't mind it. I mean, I like kind of what Affleck does. So I went into it pretty optimistic. He looked huge. I didn't see a big difference in like his Bruce and Batman. Maybe that was just because I didn't get to see a ton of him as Bruce Wayne in public. Which I enjoyed watching that with Christian Bale.
His Bruce Wayne in public's more in BVS, like the library scene, him at work.
Oh, and that dance when he meets.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's more
right.
of his Playboy Bruce. My the saddest part about his Batman is I really like the idea of getting older Batman to where we're really jumping into the career, so that we could, there's all this back history we can explore. If they wanted to pop up like Robin or Nightwing or a Jason Todd story or a Batgirl, like it could have already happened. We don't have to build to that.
See, I feel like the general populace, though, like they're going to be like, wait, there's 3 Robins?
We don't have to do all 3. We can just do one. But I'm just saying, like, just the fact that we could do that without being anchored to an origin film would be nice for a change.
Yeah. See, I think what made it work, that little teaser we saw in Batman or Superman or Justice League, whatever, whichever one that was, is it's like, oh, Batman has a sidekick, and oh, he's dead. Like, they don't know that this isn't the real one. They don't know this is they just know, oh, I know that suit. I know his sidekick, and something happened. That's bad. Dude, I've watched Batman my entire life, starting with the 60s reruns. I have an signed Adam West and Burt Ward picture. Like, I've literally watched, read, consumed everything. But I mean, I still get confused sometimes about which Robin's which and who's who and Red Hood. Like, it's very, very confusing.
I made a video, a PowerPoint. I'll just send it to you,
Yes,
or you can ask my kids. They'll flat out tell you. They'll tell you, like,
well, send me that PowerPoint.
They straight out called Grandma like that's Jason Todd.
Oh my gosh,
and that's Tim Drake. And I would look at my kids like, I'm so proud.
Well, yes, send me that PowerPoint. I mean, so like, I think yes, jumping into that, but I think this is kind of what Marvel's getting into. Is at some point you just like where's the threshold of like what the audience can retain and what they're willing to go there with. So yeah, I don't mind not being like, whoa, why is this Robin? Why is that Rob? Like, I don't know. I think it can be a lot. But also, I don't know. Go for it.
The thing is, like, we had the grounded Batman. Then we had like the Batman who is part of like the Justice League and the other DC world, and now we're swinging back to a grounded Batman. So Chase, go ahead and press play.
Let's do it.
So we did there. And let's see what you think about this trailer, and we'll talk a little, and then we'll get into you as a podcaster.
All right, so here we go. I'm pressing play on the trailer that was released 3 weeks ago, The Batman. Raining, of course, in Gotham. Shadows. Music drop.
That's all it does in Gotham.
Boys, hands up!
Okay. Hands up. Oh, is that the Riddler?
Get out of here!
It looked like the guy's playing the Riddler. Yes. Question mark. Love it.
Fear is a tool. When that light hits the sky,
It's Bat Voice.
it's not just a call. It's a warning.
Oh. Okay. Shocked someone?
I've been trying to reach you. Fire the gun!
Oh.
This is a powder king. And prisoners to match.
Okay.
I can take care of myself.
Selena Kyle.
If this continues, it won't be long before you've nothing less.
Ooh. Scarred
I don't
Alfred?
care what happens to me.
It's
Oh,
only going to get worse for you.
okay.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart.
Amazing, Colin Farrell.
Ain't you?
Maybe we're not so different. Who are you under there?
All right. More dummies shooting for his.
I'm vengeance.
Okay. Batmobile.
It's black
He's dirty. Serial killer.
and dead. Old.
Yo.
Take
wide Batmobile. That thing is wide. Upside down, brother. That's an awesome shot. Okay, that's a cool shot. Epic music. I want to hear a little more Elfman callback in that, though. Okay, dude, that was a thing.
So here's why you process this. This is my thought process with this movie.
Okay.
I feel like they sat down on it with a giant whiteboard and they went and they watched Batman 89 and took notes. And then they watched The Dark Knight and took notes. And then they watched Affleck and took notes and they put them all in a blender. And they're like, we're going to make a greatest hits Batman.
And then they watched Saw and they made the regular murderous puzzle machine.
I mean, he's been Tom King's Riddler was.
Oh my gosh, that was not a plug. It just it started.
Oh no! But no, so.
Sorry, it automatically started playing. I didn't pause it.
I feel like it's going to be like a greatest hits Batman. By going back to what I said, it looks good. I'm not against it. It looks good. I'm excited for the music, the Gotham, the characters. Mm-hmm. My only reserve is just once again, this is year 2 Batman. So it's not Batman Begins. It's more kind of like 89 where he's been doing this, but it's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about just having to keep going back to the beginning of Batman's career. I want to see.
I mean, it's like the Spider-Man paradox where are we going to see his parents murdered again? Is that really going to be a flashback? Is that going to happen? Probably. I mean, or at least something. We're going to see a gravesite or hear gunshots. You can't start a fresh Batman and not talk about why he's Batman.
Right. It's all about, heck, they even put the Wayne murder in Joker. Why? Why?
That's a whole other conversation.
And it's, yeah.
All right. So, okay.
What are your feelings?
A lot of people in the movie. You got James Gordon, who is played by
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. That's right. Sorry. Looks great. Love it. We have Alfred by the legend himself. Not the green screen legend, but
mocap legend.
The motion cap legend. Sedaris, right? I'm terrible with
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis, that's right. You imagine the female comedian Amy Sedaris doing that? That'd be really, really dumb.
Every time we talk about somebody, if I've never heard their name pronounced out loud, I'm like, if I butcher this, please forgive me, people.
No, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. And Colin Farrell, obviously, as the Penguin, is just. I mean, I think he stole the trailer there, in my opinion.
Dude, the first trailer, where you see him, but he has no lines, you just see his face, and you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
And then when someone points out, that's Colin Farrell in makeup for Penguin.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy
I mean, that
cow.
trailer showed off Colin Farrell and Zoe Kravitz as the Catwoman. I mean, that's what I feel like that one was. You heard his Bat voice for the first time, I think, maybe?
Yeah. In the first trailer, he says, "I'm vengeance." So his Bat voice seems to be it's going to be kind of more in the Michael Keaton style, where it's just kind of lowering your voice, not trying to chew gravel or not using a modulator.
Yeah, I always like that with Batfleck. I thought that was actually a good touch because why wouldn't you do that?
Right, because for two things. One, it makes your voice sound creepy, weird.
Yeah.
When you're talking. Two, as an actor, that's done in post. So you just act, you deliver your lines, and then in post they put the modulator on and give it that deep growl. Compared to all the fun lines that we have to play with, in Christian Bale. It's one thing when he says one line, "Swear to me," and then compared to later when he has to deliver long lines of dialogue and he can't breathe through his nose and he's like, "Not yet." Yeah.
So
but no,
I didn't like the Batman interrogating the Riddler scene, punching the window. That's just if I saw in the Dark Knight and beat the crap out of the Joker, like I don't want to see him punch a glass. Like,
well, go back and watch the first trailer when he's fighting a room full of police, and they're all like coming on him, and he's like throwing them off. And
okay, yeah, but that's not one of his rogue gallery people.
No, but I'm just like I said, like I'm telling you,
maybe they're paying homage. Maybe they're paying homage.
It's a greatest hits Batman, man. They're like, oh, remember this scene? We're gonna do it. I mean,
I felt like they were very intentional in having like he has black under his mask, like that one scene, because that's been a source of contention and fanboys. But I mean, yeah, obviously I'm gonna go see it.
Maybe we'll go together.
Maybe we are.
Maybe this will be
in Ohio.
We are within like 20 minutes of each other.
20 to 30 minutes. Yeah. I like a young Alfred. I'm going to like this younger kind of spry Alfred. I love Alfred's origins. Who's like the Green Beret, kind of like all this, like his, like, dude, Alfred's pretty hardcore. And I would love a little younger kind of like, hey, I'm going to help you out, Alfred. I know he does in all of his different ways, but don't mess with Alfred, man. Alfred will mess you up. And so
I like Alfred being like 20 years from Bruce. Kind of thing. Like, you know,
dude, why can't they grow up together? It's not like the Pennyworths like just got the job. Like, why can't that just be like a family thing? And Bruce had Alfred as a friend growing up.
I mean, where is it? In the comics, I'm trying to remember whose run it was maybe it was Scott Snyder's. I can't remember. Where Jarvis Pennyworth was the butler, who's Alfred's dad.
Sure, yes.
And then when he died, Alfred, like, the idea was Alfred was raised in that idea of servitude to be a butler. He went off to the military, did his career. When his father died, Alfred came back to take his father's place and had that training. Yeah. And then so I was kind of like that idea. Like it was the Pennyworth like family was.
They lived at the manor. They had their own like Pennyworth house in the back. But Bruce and Alfred knew each other. They were friends. They played good guys, bad guys, or whatever whatever you wanted to do. Like I can see all the panels now. I can see our Batman legacy taking shape.
I was about to say if we did that, like you can compress the age to maybe like 10-year gap, like so that Alfred's a little bit older.
But why do they have to be older? But why?
I don't know, because I don't know. I'll roll with it because I like the idea of Alfred being someone he looks up to, like that's a little bit more of a father figure. But like it's kind of like that whole Obi-Wan Anakin thing. Yeah. Like,
but I just think,
I've always said like Obi-Wan looked at Qui-Gon as like a master, like a mentor, father-esque figure.
Yeah.
But Obi-Wan looked at Anakin as a brother. And that was the difference between their mentor-mentee relationship.
Yeah.
Is they had more of a brother relationship than the mentor-mentee. And then Anakin looked at Obi-Wan like almost like a father figure because Anakin was always trying to replace his absentee father. That's right. We're going to go down to Star Wars. Chase Smith, I'm just going to say this, has the most BA idea for a Star Wars battle. And I'm not going to say it on the podcast because I don't want no one to steal it. If anyone's going to steal the idea, I'm going to steal it.
Well, now I will
and give him credit. You and I were talking about I think it was after Last Jedi. We were talking about like what could be an awesome lightsaber battle.
Bro, I'm drawing a blank, man. Just get it out there, man. Just get it out there.
No, I don't want everyone
to know. It's that good? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. If I can spell.
Dude, I completely I did have a story I was working on about this was in 2009. I had this idea of Yoda's race, Yoda and his brother finding the Force in some cave. And I had this whole outline written out where Yoda and his brother they work with the Force, and this was thousands and thousands of years ago or whatever. And obviously his it became a Cain and Abel thing. Yoda ended up killing his brother. And Yoda was the cause of the dark side of the Force, and that's it was this really, really cool thing. And then Baby Groot came, which was cool.
I like this.
But yeah, it was a really cool, like, kind of Force origin thing, and how Yoda carries around all this guilt, and everything comes from essentially him. I didn't know anything about new canon. It was just, let's explore Yoda a little bit.
Yeah, dude, I totally think that's a great idea, especially because Yoda's always been painted such like a benevolent being.
Yeah.
What happened if he didn't start that way? He started out kind of on the bad side and had to earn his benevolence.
Something like that. Well, dude, I can't wait to hear my awesome idea about a lightsaber battle.
I just sent it to you in the chat.
In the chat. Oh, I forget. Okay, I see that. That sounds cool. I don't remember what that was about, and I'm so sorry, Tyler.
Oh, it's okay. All you need to know is that. And we'll leave it there.
Okay.
And anyone who's interested can message us, and we won't tell you what it is.
That has never been done.
Nope. And we
Not
had,
in
we
that
had
fashion. There's been like, can I just say it? You don't want me to. It's your podcast. I won't.
No, I don't care.
I don't think there's.
Because our idea, okay, we'll throw it out there, was a Mexican standoff.
All right, go ahead.
It's a Mexican standoff. And we had the idea of it kind of being like we were talking, we were spitballing, because we were talking after Last Jedi was about like Kylo Ren and like Rey.
Oh, yeah.
It was the three of them kind of battling.
And
Luke.
Luke.
It was like, and then we talked about like, oh, what if it was like Kylo Ren, his mom, and Snoke?
Mm-hmm.
We had this idea of like, this being this like three-way battle where it is like a Mexican standoff where it's not like 2 versus 1, which we've seen.
Right.
But it's 1 versus 1 versus 1,
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be pretty awesome. I think you could still do that with, the Ahsoka show or the Kenobi.
Dude, I love The Last Jedi, and I like The Rise of Skywalker. I don't care. I like them. My issue with The Last Jedi is the Poe and Finn storylines really have nothing going on. They just feels like after that opening battle, it feels like filler to the end. It's all. I disagree with that. I think it's all character development. Like Poe is so like heroic and hardcore in Force Awakens. Like and then to see that fall in the second one, him stripped of his responsibility and his like leadership and his pull within the Resistance. Like I thought it was great. It's a lesson he has to learn, and Finn's like world like expansion, and to see like good in everything and every like it was just, I think it was all character development. It's not Rian Johnson's fault that they did nothing with it in the third one.
Well, I mean, yeah,
and retconned everything.
I just feel like you wasted time with the Canto Bite stuff.
That was awesome, bro.
I would have liked it more if it was Finn and Rose on board the ship, like diving Phasma, fighting Phasma, and they made Phasma something, because that was a character that really had nothing.
Yeah.
And then Rise of Skywalker, for the most part, I liked everything in it, except I still didn't like that Palpatine came back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
If they hadn't, or if the idea was that they could resurrect Palpatine.
Look,
you know what I'm saying? Like he had a Force ghost, but like him physically being back, I felt like just kind of negated Return of the Jedi. And
yeah, here's why I put the third trilogy over the first trilogy, like the 1, 2, 3. I think 7, 8, 9 is better than 1, 2, 3 because of this reason. It's a story about friendship and loyalty. And you look at Han, Luke, and Leia and Chewie in the original trilogy, and it's a story about they stick by each other through everything. Han's coming back, or Luke's going to go rescue him in Cloud City. I don't care. I shouldn't go. Hey, those are my peeps. I'm going to go. Return of the Jedi is this culmination of friendship, and that's what Rise of Skywalker is. They all like stick together. Rey sticks by Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren comes back and saves Rey. It's just that they're all together, and I just, it was such a feel good. They're doing this together. They captured that spirit of the original trilogy, like to a T. I don't like some of the choices they made, but it was still a ton of fun. Kylo Ren's probably the best character in the new trilogy. I have a couple issues with Rey. Not that she's a woman. I think that's incredible. I don't think she has a character flaw.
I hate that she was a Palpatine.
I don't think she had a character flaw.
Yeah, she didn't, and I hate that she's a Palpatine because
I think
she should have been a Jedi.
With what she had. But yeah, dude, it's Star Wars on screen. I'm going to like it.
Yeah,
but
no, I mean, I agree. I always rewatch Star Wars movies in December, like leading up to Christmas. They're like part of my like into Christmas. Like right after Thanksgiving, like as you're starting to get into December, before it's like it's too early to start playing Christmas movies. That's when I slide in the Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm looking. Sorry, I'm going back to the Batman trailer here. I'm looking at the IMDb.
Oh, no.
Dude, Carmine Falcone's in this one.
Yep,
Nice.
John Turturro.
So, have they released like the plot?
Nope, not really. We
And
just
the
know that
second year,
Riddler's
Batman
terrorizing.
uncovers corruption in Gotham City that connects to his own family while facing a serial killer known as the Riddler. Okay, ooh, so maybe the Waynes aren't as squeaky clean as everyone thinks.
I would recommend, as we transition here to the Chase and Tyler Talk About Star Wars Forever podcast.
That really would go on forever.
It would be awesome. You know what would be fun? Would just be to sit down and watch like each movie and make a commentary, you and me, and just like go back and forth about what we like, what we don't like. Because it would be fun because, you know, I got to ask you these couple quick questions and we'll move on. Did you think that the new trilogy was going to be about Luke? Like when they first announced they were going to do 7, 8, 9, were you like, oh, it's going to be Luke Skywalker like as the hero and like was going to be all about him and Leia and Han continuing?
When I first heard they were doing a trilogy, I wanted to see Luke in a mentor setting with new people. What I found out in The Last Jedi made me really excited for what was going to happen. Like I loved seeing like, oh, he tried and oh, he failed and oh, he had this. I wish they didn't waste a whole movie fan servicing people who just wanted to watch the same, like a recycled Star Wars movie. I wish they would have just been bold and shown and made that an entire movie and set that as the backdrop for, oh, hey, here's Rey and oh, hey, here's Finn and oh, like keep those characters. But why, if you have an incredible story, do you not tell that? You wait for, right. and who knows what plan Disney had.
I mean,
like, I've heard so many stories. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think people, when you hear, oh, they're making 7, 8, 9, and I think one question was where the evil going to come from? Like they win. Like, yeah. So where's that going to come from? And what happens to Luke, Han, and Leia?
You know, my thought is like, every movie's generational. So the first is about Anakin, and then the second's about his kids. So the next trilogy would be about his kids' kids. You know, it's like the Skywalker family. That's the saga. Yeah. You know, it started with Anakin, and it ended with Ben Solo, who was the last of the Skywalker bloodline. So, you know, in the saga, the Skywalkers are done.
Yeah.
You know, their bloodline has, and, you know, I think there's a lot more they could have done with the idea of what the Skywalker bloodline meant to the Force. That's where I feel like they messed up with Rey being a Palpatine and should just made her, she should have been like the new chosen one. She should have been created by the Force.
Yeah.
Just, but I don't know. I just never thought they would continue with Luke, Han, and Leia because I feel like their stories were told. Like for the saga, that it would be the next generation's story to be told.
Well, I mean, dude, obviously, like Han and Leia's kids is a story. But there's like other books with like incredible stories. Luke and like I think there were stories there. It's just a matter of like they wanted to go in a different direction. I wish they would have killed Chewbacca in Rise. I thought like I was so pumped when that ship was destroyed. Like that was incredible. And then to pull the rug out from everyone and say, oh, psych, it was another ship. Like that was a poor decision that I did not appreciate.
You know, I mean, the first movie is like Han. Han dies. The second movie's Luke's. He dies. The third movie is Leia's, and she dies. But it is what it is. I mean, we knew that there was supposedly a script for 8 and 9. And then when they hired Rian Johnson, they just tossed him out and let him write his own 8. So, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. And, you
don't like The Last Jedi, do you?
No, I don't mind it at all.
Okay.
Because I love the Kylo Ren, Rey, and Snoke stuff. I love that part. I love that Luke was a failure. I did not expect him to do jack crap. I liked the idea that Luke was in hiding, that he had failed because he never really succeeded in the first place. He didn't stop the Emperor. The only thing that stopped the Emperor was his father's love for him that turned his father.
And not going to the dark side. That was his victory.
That was his victory. That was his only victory. It was Anakin Skywalker
who the Death Star.
And we're talking about the Jedi way. I'm not talking about the first movie, okay? Yes, he destroyed the Death Star. But I'm talking about like his Jedi training path. Like, he didn't destroy the Emperor. He didn't stop.
Okay, here's his victories. He didn't kill his dad, which is what the Emperor wanted, and he didn't turn to the dark side. And because of that, the Emperor was defeated, and Darth Vader came back to the light and threw Emperor over the ledge into a pit of electricity, and then it exploded, and then he survived. So,
okay, here's my question to you: who defeated Darth Vader?
Luke.
No, Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, that sounds like a Tyler answer, dude. Luke defeated Darth Vader.
No, Luke took Vader down, but then Vader was officially destroyed when Anakin Skywalker's love for his son overtook him. And he turned back to the light. Because remember, he ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. So in reverse, in Return of the Jedi, he ceased to be Darth Vader and returned to be Anakin Skywalker. And then he died.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our Star Wars segment. But Chase, come on, man. Let's talk a little bit about you. Like, you have your own podcasting network. Tell us a little bit. Because, Chase, you started actually podcasting before I even started podcasting. Because you did the Dog Talk podcast, and we did a whole movie episode.
Dude,
oh, man.
So I've been involved in podcasting since 2006. I was at Marshall and just automatically loved them. And being in audio with my job at churches and working with live audio wasn't a very hard transition to learn how to do that or to figure it out. And so before I got married, I was like, man, I got 5-6 months to kill. What can I do to spend some time? And I was like, I can start a podcast. And it was called Dog Talk. And I talked about the Cleveland Browns. I love the Cleveland Browns, but also talked about whatever I wanted to. Movies, talked to my friends, and ended up making on the new and noteworthy part on iTunes, which was really, really cool. But then I got married. I was like, hey, that was fun. That was great. Still listen to podcasts all the time. And then I ended up, so whenever you work in the church and you are young and you work with students and you sing, you automatically get dumped a lot of like technology, like projects or things at churches. And so like, oh, Chase, put our stuff online. Oh, Chase, hey, do this. Hey, can you make our sermons available? Hey, we don't want to record sermons on a cassette tape anymore. Can you figure out how to do that without doing that? And so I was doing podcasts for churches, and then some other businesses were like, hey, can you help me do this? I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I was like, well, wait, why am I doing this for things that I don't really care about when I could do something for me that I do care about? And
you're not passionate about it. You want to do something you're passionate about.
So I was like,
we understand the passion here.
Yeah. So in 2017, I started the Chase Smith podcast, and loved it. Ended up talking to a prominent Browns person, and we started a Browns podcast, and that topped charts on iTunes. And then I launched a Cavs podcast and a handful of others. And I was like, well, hey, this seems to work well. Why don't I just do this, put them all together under one umbrella? And thus the Press Play Podcast Network was born. And we just celebrated 3 years a couple weeks ago. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have 4 or 5 producers, junior level staff, an executive team. We have investors, and we just launched our phase 2 seed funding campaign, looking to bring on more investors and more money, trying to raise some capital. So if you guys know of anyone looking to invest in a growing Midwest podcast network that covers everything from sports to culture to business, let me know. And
All right.
so, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. I host our Cavs podcast every other week, and I'm going to be relaunching my podcast here more consistently in the new year. I've given up a lot of my hosting duties. We brought on more hosts just so I can focus more on network expansion and other things. And it's a humbling lesson to kind of step down and bring other people on and to see it do better than whenever you were doing it. And to kind of like give up ownership of what you do. And I found that the more I give up, the more that this grows and the better it becomes, which is a hard lesson because I like to do things. But it's been an incredible journey, man. The family's super supportive. And we'll just see where this goes, man. So yeah, pressplaypodcast.com. Go to any Spotify, Apple, search my name or Press Play Podcast, and you'll see all of our shows come up. It's kind of where we're at. We went to Podcast Movement in Nashville over the summer, which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Which is a big podcast conference every year.
I'd like to go to a podcasting conference.
It was cool,
at some
man.
point.
Yeah. It was a lot of good information.
Always learning.
Yep.
Always learning new things with the podcast.
Yeah, bro.
So that is Chase. Obviously, as you can hear, the man, he has a lot of experience, lots of cool stuff to talk about. You can talk about anything with Chase.
Oh.
I think next we're going to start our own cooking podcast.
Hey, man.
It's going to be called Don't Throw Burnt Microwavable Popcorn in the freezer.
Correct. Don't do that.
Because it'll make the ice taste like burnt popcorn. We learned that the hard way too.
That's my bad. Ty has never let me forget that. You
because
make
it
one
was
mistake.
Hilarious. Because it was hilarious. I still think it's hilarious.
It was so hot though, and
I know. I don't blame you. I just
didn't
think it was
trust
when we had the ice.
What our house was made of. Who knows what would have happened if burnt popcorn would have touched the floor? The whole thing would have gone up in smoke. It's like just put it in the freezer. But yeah, that was a bad smell that just never left. That fridge probably still smells like burnt popcorn. I'm pretty sure. Dude, that house, man. So we were seniors in college, and there were 5 of us. My room wasn't even a room. It was like a dining room. We put up a thick cloth. I put like a wardrobe in front of like the entryway door. And that's where I slept. We had this huge William Shakespeare, like wooden, like cloth. I don't even know what it was over on our mantle. Tapestry. It really was a tapestry. Yeah. Ty lived upstairs. You had 2 rooms. You had like your own like entertainment room and then your bedroom / band practice room. It doubled as that.
But hold on. For everyone who's thinking, oh, that's cool. The front room was about the size of a jail cell.
Yes.
The roof was slanted. Yeah. And then when you went into like the sleeping area, it was long. It was an attic with slanted roofs like this. And I was the tallest one there.
You really were.
So I had to watch my head.
We ended up putting someone in your entertainment room who slept there. We had someone who was in our primary bedroom. The house had 1 bathroom, mind you.
A very small
bathroom. Someone in the biggest room in the house was the smallest guy in the house. And he had like 2 closets as well, which I didn't have a closet either. That's a whole other conversation. We had someone living in our sunroom.
Yes.
Who also didn't have a closet. But
he had one of those portable
You walk
closets.
From the jail cell living room to our kitchen. My closet was the pantry.
Yeah.
And down from the kitchen was the sunroom that led out to the backyard. Someone's like lived there. They had this.
Well, no, they didn't live there. They slept there.
They slept there,
because he was about to get married, and he just needed somewhere to sleep at night. So he would come. He was the best roommate ever.
He really was.
You never knew he was there.
Yep.
He always paid his part of the bills.
Yep. That's where the laundry was as well. But then downstairs was the biggest room in the house, but that's where our basement dweller lived. And he like erected walls. Like he was pretty much just like playing real world Minecraft downstairs.
He put in a sink.
And-
We could do a whole podcast on him.
Oh man, we found just like jars of piss down there. Because whenever he moved out, he didn't take anything. He was just like, I have what I need, whatever's down there, I'm just going to forget. And it was a wreck. But hey, we had 5 guys in there. It was good. It's good stuff.
It was fun.
Good times. Never again, but good times.
Yeah, never again. I have kids now. I have my own house. Okay, I have my Superman room. I can't.
Dude, you
Hey,
do,
look, there's
man.
one of my kids who's supposed to be in bed because they have school in the morning. But you know, he's
Roll
up.
it.
Babe,
What's up,
my
bro?
friend Chase. You need to go lay down. Okay, go to bed. Solomon, you got school in the morning. If you want to go to the movies tomorrow, I mean, if we weren't podcasting, if I was just, breeding, they'd be asleep. But no, because we're on a podcast, they're like,
Has he ever been on a podcast and recorded something with you?
oh yeah. The intro is his voice. Selah has the outro, and then we do little segments together. I'll have them comment on stuff, and it's all good fun.
Cool. Well, dude, this was all good fun, man. Always a pleasure talking to you, my man.
Oh yeah, that's why I was like, I told Janine, I was like, I'm doing a podcast tonight. She go, oh, it's like, yeah, I'm just talking with Chase Smith. She's like, oh, sweet. Yeah,
Junior's awesome, dude. You're awesome. I love you guys, man. We're a wonderful family, and let's definitely go watch Batman together. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm serious because I want to see it before Solomon does because he wants to see it. He's watched all the Nolan films with me.
Wow.
He gets a little bored at times, but he's watched them all, and he's really hyped on the trailer for this. So I want to see it before I take him. So me and you go and catch
call.
it, and
Let's do
then.
it.
All right, buddy.
Let's do it.
Where can people find you online? Are you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, Twitter and Instagram at the Chase Smith, and then pressplaypodcast.com for all of our shows. And
hey, and remember. The Krypton Report is a Tears production. We thank you for listening and enjoying, and please support us on our Patreon account, our TeePublic store, and check out our social media. Always remember to look up in the sky.